I am sure sports. You know me there, I'm coast to coast representing. I mean, I say this is righteous representing for Omar. You don't know, come get the sports over here from near and far. Boy. Me say I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. If me not sure, that me not say it. Know who score, that me not say it. Never know no game play, that me not say it. If me never see no game, me no know who play. For your sports news, better come over here so. For your soccer news, then come over here so. If you don't love sports, still come over here so. For the day done, you a go love over here so.
So when it comes on to behavior concerning football, Jamaica is decent. I am sure that if we can get all of these things done, set in place by the end of April, it gives us enough time before the World Cup campaign. Not afraid of Brazil or Argentina with these crap of players. We're good enough. Remember, to like, subscribe, share. Listen, comment, let me know what your thoughts are.
Trick-Nick Jerk Marinade gives your meats and vegetables authentic Jamaican jerk flavor. The spices are directly from Jamaica. Spices like jerk seasoning, allspice, Scotch bonnet pepper, fresh scallions, thyme, ginger, and garlic. The key ingredients to a great jerk marinade. 0% sugar and low in sodium. You want to try it?
Made up of 18 Jamaican herbs and spices. Add delicious, bold flavor to your next grilling experience. Flavoring sauce, a marinade, basting, condiment, or topping. Trick-Nick Jerk Barbecue Sauce.
William Knibb Memorial High School D-Cup Alumni presents its third annual fundraising barbecue on Memorial Day, May 30th, 2022. Wear your favorite jersey to Wilsonwood Park in Mount Vernon, New York. Remember to take exit 12 off the Hutchinson River Parkway. Music by DJ Mad Max of Sound 1000. Proceeds to aid the William Knibb High School Costa Cup team. For more information, contact Keegan 304-607-4034. Our Codfish at 954-639-2991. Proud of people, it's important. Remember, make sure say Ono did that.
All right, greetings and good morning. Welcome to I Am Sure Sports. I am your host, Manningsman. Hope you're having a wonderful morning. Yes, it is a beautiful day to be alive. It is a day that the Lord has made. So let us rejoice and be glad in it. I want to begin by sharing a quote with you that will serve to inspire you this morning. It's by A.R. Bernard, and he says, all changes begin with a decision. Once the decision is made, discipline becomes the bridge between desire and accomplishment. So let me say that again. All change begins with a decision. Once the decision is made, discipline becomes the bridge between desire and accomplishment. All right? I want you to put that into practice in your life. And as we always say at the beginning of our show, the quality of your thinking determines the quality of your life, right? If you have stinking thinking, then you're going to have a stinking life, because the quality of your thinking determines the quality of your life. Want to say a big thank you to our sponsors this morning. Yeah, all our sponsors this morning. Blessed day to you. Yes. All right. To our sponsors, Prestige Finance, they make this happen, lending a helping hand when you need it the most. Call them at 876-884-7390. They are located in Linstead, St. Catherine, and they're offering loans of up to 100,000 Jamaican dollars. Yes, people, 100,000 Jamaican dollars, 0 to 4% interest rate with no processing fee and same day processing. Also, to launch Legacy over there in Canada, Patrick Reed, wherever you are. Sir, big up yourself. Launch Legacy, where they handle risk and seek legacy for all your personal insurance needs in Canada and the USA. Visit them at launchlegacy.com or call or text them at 647-989-0782. This is the morning when we have our coaching, education, and explanation, and just examination with Coach Andrew Edwards. We do this every other Friday, and he's with us this morning, and we're going to discuss, yes, we're going to discuss some matters we're going to talk about as a topic says the description about developing or creating a successful schoolboy program. We're going to be also talking about just asking a question: is Clarendon the hotbed, the place for schoolboy football, the most successful region in terms of schoolboy football? We're going to talk about that. And then he also did an article in the Observer recently about the silver lining behind the failed World Cup campaign for our senior team. We're going to get his perspective on that. So again, I want you say a big thank you to all the persons in the comment section. Always appreciate you coming on. Blessed King Jav and everyone else who is watching at this time. Please, as you come on, remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and share. And here's why: because that helps with what we are doing. We also have the super sticker and the super chat. That way you can make a contribution to the platform if you so desire. It is a Friday. Come on, give us something out of page, man. You just collect your billions right now. Support the work, you billionaire, you King Jav. Do better than that. All right. Yeah, man. All right. So let's welcome Coach Andrew Edwards this morning. Coach Edwards, welcome. Blessed morning.
Blessed morning, as always. Morning's morning, give thanks, and blessed morning, afternoon, morning, evening, whatever it is, wherever you are joining us. We give thanks for the opportunity to share once again, and hopefully we can add some value to those persons on the call today.
Awesome. How's the week been?
It's been a good week, a bit hectic, and of course also a little bit challenging with the weather, but all things said, we're grateful and we give thanks. Things are falling in place very, very nicely for the Genesis Spring Tournament next week, Saturday, at Manchester High School, and we're looking forward to staging another very successful tournament with a lot of excitement and fun for the players, and a good outing for the parents and coaches as well, because a lot of these didn't happen only in Kingston, so we're very proud of the fact that we are able to produce and provide this opportunity outside of the corporate area. And I know a lot of the corporate area people genuinely look forward to these tournaments in Mandeville. So
that's next week.
Next week, Saturday, April 30.
Okay. And that's at the Manchester High School.
Correct.
Yeah. And Manchester also played, I think, Glenmore yesterday in under 60 competition down that side at Manchester High School, I think.
Excuse me, no, the game was played at Glenmore High School.
It was played at Glenmore?
2 days ago, yeah.
Okay. 2 days ago?
Yeah, 2 days ago, Wednesday.
Okay. On Wednesday. Okay. Yeah. I think Glenmore won. It was the top of the table clash.
Yeah, actually, Manchester needed a tie to go for the semi-finals, and Glenmore won the game 2-1. So Glenmore took that semi-final spot.
Oh, whoa. All right. Well, one more Clarendon and a morning when we're going to talk about building a successful schoolboy program. Look where it says a good segue into discussing that. And then, Glenmore is also out Clarendon.
Yes.
So a good little segue. I see Victor Carr saying, what is WhatsApp number? He would like to ask a question. That's who, Victor? You want to ask Coach Edwards a question? like no, or you want to ask because yes. So yeah, let us know. Um, or you can use the number that is going and you see it going down the bottom right here at the stream, the 876-373-6449 number. All right, so blessing Victor Carr. That name sound like a management right there. just sound like a very intelligent person. That name, you understand me?
So wait, what kind of name Edwards is? A intelligent name or a laborer name or a criminal name?
You have to know. You have to know what your name and tell me. I can tell you about, right?
No, I just want to know it sound to you. Because you just read Victor Carr and ascribe certain character traits to it.
The name is a great name. Andrew, man, you know, Andrew's Memorial Expensive Hospital, you know how the thing is.
I see you well trained.
Yeah, man. But let's begin with our first thing this morning, coach. Like, what does it take? And well, first, what is a success? What is considered to be a successful schoolboy program? Before we even determine what it takes to build it, I think we need to define what is considered a successful schoolboy program first.
All right, so that's an interesting question. Actually, it is the most important question in the discussion because, typically speaking, success is defined for most of us as winning, right? However, there has to be other success targets which we would have discussed in previous discussions. So it comes down to the particular school and what is it that they want. All right. I know that all the schools we have worked so far, they have always been very key to win competition. With the exception of Teachfield, that desire to win came directly from me as an individual, not the school per se. All right. But that aside, it has always also been very, very key to prepare players who can matriculate to the national teams and as well as to college education. So those would have been the three primary success indicators, you know. And as I said before, obviously, each school would have to define what their success indicators are.
Yeah. Because it depends on what the vision they have.
Exactly. But generally speaking, I dare say that everybody wants to win.
Yeah, which is true. Everybody wants to win. Yeah, but I always think defining what a win is also important because for one school it may be winning the trophy. For our next school, it may not even win it. It may not be winning the trophy. You know, it may be, yeah. So one school, your school may want to win Manning Cup or the Costa Cup. For me, if I can get 2 players moving from my development program at my school into Europe, or if I can get 10 of my players into colleges in the States, that to me could be.
As I say, that is natural, you know. Truth be told, though, I don't know of many schools or any actually that are focused on preparing players for the European market. Obviously, players come into your program with very lofty ambitions, and as a school and as a coach, you would want to support them as much as you possibly can to reach those dreams. I don't think it would be a primary goal of a school per se.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, that school has some genuine connections and is moving away from Dakasa Cup, Manning Cup, put that in quotation marks, but towards now player development and exportation.
Yeah.
You know, but I am also aware that sports in general and football in particular does have the capacity to change the culture and the social fabric of a school. So, for example, I recall a former principal at St. Thomas Technical High School stating categorically that he's going to be using sports to make St. Thomas Technical the school of choice in St. Thomas. And in those days, he actually coached the school's tennis program himself. All right, and one of the most prominent names that would have moved to the school from a footballing perspective would have been Jeremy and you, and they had very good success with the likes of Jeremy and you and Newton Sterling, building up the school's profile. And I think I am on relatively safe grounds to say that even to this day, the school is benefiting from that kind of a decision, or direction.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So now that we have answered the what is success question, now we need to answer how can the schools develop, build, or create a successful program? What are the components of that? What does it look like, and what needs to be in place? I even asked this with even my former school Mannings, because though we have done well, I don't think we have I don't think we have created an established program or system that once even if entire coaching staff left, there's a system in place. What we have had is, from my experience, is someone comes in, coaches the team, gets the support, or don't get the support, however, and that's it. And then if somebody else comes in, it's a restart, and it's always a restarting and no continuity to what is happening. So go ahead and share with us your thoughts on building a successful schoolboy program.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Manningsman, for stating categorically that it is just my thoughts. I would have had some success, a lot of failures, quite frankly. And a year and a half ago, I started a process of interviewing some of the coaches who have had major success in schoolboy football over the last 15, 20 years. In fact, I think the only persons that would have been on the list that have not yet been interviewed would be Neville Burtis Bell, Liebert Halliman, and Coach Jackie Walters. But we spoke to the likes of Emerson Diggy Henry, Follies,
Late Follies
Williams, my good friend, Dean Weatherly, Lenny Hyde, Ludlow Bernard, Miguel Coley, Vassal Reynolds, to name a few.
Listen, you don't call one of the big names yet,
Who is that?
Steve Gabby Buckner.
Oh, no. I said the last 15 to 20 years. So Gabby's success would have been way before that.
Yeah, yes.
Right?
True,
but
true.
that is not to say that we would not speak to Gabby, though. So,
but I have the interview with Coach Liebert Halliman that I can go to, because he answered that question on it. And I have the one with Jackie Walters as well, because I interviewed both of them and they both gave their perspective on the same question. So it will be interesting, but go ahead.
Awesome. So I'm giving this background to say that in the interviews, I found out that there is a different method for everybody. So what I am suggesting this morning now is not the way.
Z method is just a method.
All right, good.
Yeah.
So for me now, when I started my coaching journey back in 2000, the first order of business for me, and remains in everything that I do, is an environmental analysis, right? And out of the environmental analysis, we develop a strategic plan. So that is the broad basis of it, in a sense, right? Now, there are 4 key tenets in that analysis. The first one is resources. And we subdivide resources into 3 categories, of course: human, physical, and financial resources. All right. And then we have the culture, which we can look at existing culture, desired culture, and so on. And then in terms of the third one would be planning and preparation, and of course analysis and feedback. So that is the skeleton of the method, so to speak. All right. So let us dig into them a little bit.
Let me try to get them. So you have resources.
Right.
The resources include human resources, financial resources, and physical resources.
Correct.
Then the second one is culture.
Right.
The third one is planning
and preparation.
And the last one is analysis and
feedback.
All right.
Yeah. So that's kind of the process, and it's really a cycle, a kind of a circular kind of thing. Yeah. So if we kind of try to get into them step by step, I will start with the resources. All right. Always for me, because at the core of my philosophy as a coach is the player. So my philosophy is players first, and it's one that I adopted from John Calipari, a famous basketball coach in the US.
Yes, right? yes.
So we want to establish who are the players that are available to us within the school system. And when we say who are the players that are available to us in the school system now, it's a kind of a short, medium, long-term look, right? So we want to see who are the players who are now eligible for the Costa Cup stroke Manning Cup. Let's say under 19 then, right? In year one. Then we look at year two, year three, which now year three now is where you come now where you have the merger, for want of another way of saying it, with your U16 program. So your year three Costa Cup Manning Cup players technically would also be your final year under 16 players. And you look right through the system, come down, and you set it out. Now this I particularly learned from Coach Downswell. So instead of just having a list of the players and the years of their eligibility, so you'd basically create a list with that. You now put it into your formation, that your desired formation that you want to play. So when I was at Titchfield, for example, I played a 4-4-2, with sweeper and a holding midfielder. When I moved to Stetson, it was still 4-4-2, sometimes 4-5-1. But instead of a sweeper, we had a flat back, right? So what you do now, you put the players into the positions based on what you would have observed over the analysis period or the period. You put them in, you plug them in. That now gives you an opportunity to see where your gaps are or where gaps will occur in the future. This brings us to the next thing, which is something that is somewhat controversial in some quarters, but we talk about recruitment, right? So where do you need to recruit to make your team competitive and to support your team? Now for me, it has always been my recruitment process has always been this, but I realize based on how things are now that if you're in the game, which I am not, then you probably need a different method, right? But in the past it was simple. The strength of your recruitment should be at first and third form, all right? And then you had the what you would call the marquee player coming in for sixth form, all right? Maybe one or two in fourth form, but in other words, the bulk, I should say, instead of the strength, the bulk should be first and third form, and then of course one or two for fourth form, and the rest for sixth form. So that's kind of the player side. Now players are only as good as the supporting structure that they have around them. So you need a team manager, you need an assistant coach, you need medical care, etc., etc. So you need
nutrition.
Well, of course, that's part of it, of course. So you put all of those down now, and you look at what do we already have in the environment, what can we bring into the environment, how are we going to bring it into the environment. So in some schools, it is easy to have a doctor on call at no cost to the program because he or she is a past student and is proud to be a part of the program in that way. In another instance, you might have to pay for it, and so forth. So we kind of get in the picture though. But you build out your program. For me, it has always been very, very important succession planning. And I would like to feel very, very proud of myself that I would have created an environment in which others who worked with me would have been able to grow and enjoy their own successes. Yeah. Whatever that means to them. But of course, that's how I have seen it and how they have communicated it. So that part is very, very clear. In terms of the physical resources, we talk naturally about the field is the first thing. Do you have a field for home games, for training and development? When I worked at Teachfield, which is my alma mater, I remember one time somebody visited, I think it was TVG or CVM at the time, and they were in awe because if you know Teachfield has a playing area that's probably half of a real football field. All right. And on that space, track and field was training, 3 school football team was training. All right. Plus you had cricket and netball happening simultaneously. So the person was really in awe. Now, we managed to work things and make things work in that space. But is it ideal? Is it the best? Absolutely not. And so from the field, with our other physical resources that are important, transportation. Do we have our own transportation or access to cost-effective transportation to move us easily? Do we have dorm facilities or housing facilities to house players? Right? And especially if you're recruiting players who are not from your area, how do you treat with those situations? So that's kind of on the physical side. Of course, in terms of housing and dorming, other things come into play in terms of like
feeding,
bathrooms and kitchens and all of them.
Yeah, and feeding them and having somebody to take house mother or somebody to take care of them while they're that.
So the house mother and the house and these people, they come under the human resource side of it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Then of course everything comes at a cost. So how do we finance all of this? All right. And I think this is where some schools have a greater advantage than others because sadly the schools in Kingston have a double advantage in this regard. One, Kingston is where
it's the business capital of Jamaica.
Is the business capital of the country. Yeah. Thank you. And so even some of your colleagues where you went to school with are now living in Kingston and their children go to Woolmers and Campion and so on. All right. I have that same experience. So there's a net migration deficit on rural schools with their top talents in school, whether it be academics, etc., moving to the corporate area post high school and therefore not as attached to their schools as the Kingston people are. So you'll find, say for example, just pick a name out of the hat, Don Webby, working down at Grace Kennedy. Literally, he can drive out of my office and in 15 minutes time, he reach a George's. So he can give a pep talk, he can bring up a case of water, whatever the case may be. So those things help the Kingston schools a lot much more and make it much more difficult for the rural schools. Then there's the other side of it, whereby
Let me just sorry to interject, but I think that's such a good point. I don't know if I've ever heard it before, that which is so true. We're not even talking about migrating to a different country, but the migration from certain parishes causes that detachment from your so-called roots for many. So the person, for example, who went to, say, a Frome, let's use a Frome Technical High School in Westmoreland, goes to University of the West Indies, completes 4 years, gets a job over there. His first or her first job is 5 years in a company. That's 9 years that they have basically detached from the school.
Yes, man.
And the point you are making is that the person in Kingston, though, he's probably going to do high school in Kingston, finish university in Kingston, and find a job in Kingston.
Absolutely.
And so that means that the attachment to his school is stronger than the person from Frome. Very valid.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Absolutely. I mean, I have a brethren of mine that I went to high school with, a few years younger, and I know his son goes to Kingston College, and I hardly ever see him talking about Teachfield. You know, it's like because him live and work at Kingston, his son now go to Kingston College. It's all about KC for him. It's no longer about Teachfield. So it's like there's a separation from your roots, so to speak, that the rural schools really and truly suffer from. Because even when these alumni move on and they become extra successful, right? They very rarely you find them feeling so attached to them schools that they'll make that 3-hour drive, 2-hour drive, go back at the school and invest time, let alone money. You know, so it's those are some of the things. So the second point I wanted to make on this particular one, though, is that very sadly and unfortunately, corporate Jamaica, in my experience, has been much more kind to corporate Jamaica, meaning Kingston.
Yeah.
In other words, sponsorship dollar is much more difficult to come by in Manchester than it is in Kingston, and I would dare say it's worse in Portland, where I'm from. All right. I know it is very difficult in St. Elizabeth, where I lived for many years. I can't speak to the rest of the rural parishes.
I can tell you that even in West, and this is what I'm saying. Like, I can tell you about like Mannings. If it is not for the past students of Mannings, there is no investment in their sports program like from any business entity. And I'm going to tell you, I think I said this earlier, is that when I was speaking to someone earlier, one of my guests that I had on this week, and I was saying to them part of the issue, because they were talking about a competition with an academy that is going to be started in Kasafa.
Right.
I think tomorrow.
Tomorrow, right.
All right. And they're able to use the Captain Horace Center.
Absolutely.
Big stuff. All right. And I said to them that, listen, that is easy. But other parishes, when they approach, say, financial institution and some of the big companies, the first thing that they are told is that they have already, no matter what plan they propose, they can take the same plan that Kasafa has and say, here it is. Can you sponsor this in St. Elizabeth, in St. Anne? And that company will tell them, we have already given to a team or a group in Kingston from our head office.
Of course. Yeah, man. So that is so those are some of the major challenges. So for us in the rural parts, it is very, very key that we become a lot much more creative and innovative. You know, this morning's message that I read, because I have a daily message that I read from Ralph Marston, and it spoke to the blessing of limitations. You know, that limitations are not necessarily a curse, but rather can be a blessing. It forces us to become much more resourceful, you know, and more creative. So that is something that I think our rural people need to be more keen on doing, as far as becoming more attractive and more financially viable, generally speaking. One of the things that we did at Teachfield when I was there was simply to raise the level of the performance so that we could increase the gate receipts. And that is also a part of a strategic plan, you know. How can we, because quite frankly, and I know the same for Stets is true, Stets versus Monroe can be a significant fillip to the overall football budget for the year. Same with Teachfield versus Port Antonio, right? And to Issa's credit, in recognition of this and the principals who sit on the board, Issa have always had what we call derby weekends in rural schoolboy football. Right? It's not so much a case in corporate, where you'll always see, for example, Cornwall St. James playing on a Saturday, States Monroe on a Saturday, Teachfield Port Antonio on a Saturday. Those games are generally not scheduled for midweek days. In Yeah, you understand?
Okay.
Rossies
Oh, that's
versus
important. Yeah,
Rossies
yeah.
versus Chrome, Mannings versus Godfrey Stewart also. So they have in each of the zones, there's really like a big derby game where the masses come out to support the game. And to
Okay.
Issa's credit, they have always sought to schedule those games on a Saturday in support of the schools.
Wow, that's
Um,
interesting.
yeah, it's key. So after we have looked at the resources across the three aspects of it, very, very important is the development of a culture. All right. Now, obviously, there must be an existing culture. Now, does this existing culture support the direction of the program in terms of what is it that the football wants to achieve? How does the culture of the school support it? All right. So, I said earlier that when I worked at Teachfield, winning was entirely of my own. So it wasn't the school's mission or the school's intention to win the Costa Cup. It was really mine. And I'm not saying none of this to discredit anybody, right? But just to give a little context. When I started with the team in 2001, I just came back from university and the school did not play the Costa Cup the year before. And I found that to be just not acceptable. When I did the investigations, I was told that there was nobody interested to coach whatever. I said to the principal, sir, I will coach it. He said, what? I said, sir, I'll find the resources. As long as they give you the permission, I provide the basic needs of gears and so on and so forth. And we got the permission, we went in and we played. Only 3 teams in the zone that year. Teachfield, Islington, which is now, it has a new name now, I don't remember. And St. Mary Technical. Teachfield won the first game and needed one more win to qualify for the interzone, and we failed. Yeah. But the second year we had real good success and the program took off. And that was sustained up to about 2008, I think.
That's the team with Darren Jackson, Sammy.
Yes. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. You and Sammy link up like that?
Yeah, man. Sammy and I play for a team together, and Sammy was called to U17, I think,
Yeah, man. Yes. Himself and Marvin Fagan, aka Zippo.
Zippo, right. Yeah.
And out of that program, I think
Oshie and Dobson.
Yeah, man. You know the youth them for true. One thing, I mean, not to bias the name calling, but in terms of national opportunities, Dever Argyle would have been the most
right, and Dever Argyle was on that.
Out of that group.
Yeah.
And then before Dever, we had a striker who I think was somewhat, for want of a better word, cheated in terms of his national opportunity. Denroy Wilson.
Yeah.
Denroy Wilson, and his name was changed to Dennis later on. But that youngster, I think, he was a Golden Boot winner for 2 consecutive seasons in the Costa Cup. And he got his opportunity at trials, but I don't think he was given the real opportunity to show himself for the national team. But anyway, that's part and parcel of how it goes. So yeah, we finished with the resources part. We're talking about the culture. So we said there must be an existing culture, and we want to know, is this culture aligned with the direction of the program? If it is not aligned, what is it that we need to do? Now, naturally speaking, all the schools that you see win and win consistently, right? There's a culture within the school that this is something that is important to the fabric of the school. Right. So, for example, when you walk into Rossies, right at the gate, the wall of fame, you are greeted with that. The success story of Rossies down the years. You go up to Clarendon College, basically there's very little else that matters besides the Costa Cup football up there. All right. And I'm not saying that to say that nothing else no matter. I'm just saying that is a very big part of why a boy goes to Clarendon College or chooses to go to Clarendon College if he can play. And the school supports that. How the school support it varies, right? Some schools provide academic support. Some schools provide financial support on top of the academic support, nutrition support, All right. I have known of instances where players have even been supported in obtaining passports and visas, etc., because it's a part of the culture of the school to support the development of these. And for those persons who might, I mean, I'm assuming that we are all football people here, but in the event that there are other minded people here, the same is true for track and field in some schools, right? So if you look at Edwin Allen, for example, who would win the days when they were winning and so on. So the culture is really, really important. And that culture has to support the program in such a way that the players who's with confidence when they put on the uniform, that they know that they are defending their badge for their school, and the school is out there to defend them as far as possible. And by defend, we're talking about providing for their needs, supporting their cause, providing the resources to get them to that place that they want to get to. So this now really and truly requires, in my estimation, buy-in from the principal, who is the CEO of the school, who in turn will buy the support of the staff, the bursary, etc.
And the board. And the board, because sometimes the school boards have different, I think sometimes the school boards, especially some of those more traditional schools, the board has such great influence, especially even over the principal.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you'll find that if you dig deeply, you'll realize that there are stark differences in the culture of schools that are co-ed versus those that are all boys. And you'll also find that there are stark differences in the culture of schools that are corporate area based versus rural area based.
Yeah.
You know, so there's just a lot of things. But you know, again, for simplicity, we are saying that the culture must be clearly defined and agreed upon. And it is something that has to be supported and allowed to manifest over time. You know, it has to be given the opportunity to manifest. Now, very key in all of this now is the planning and the preparation. All right. So every coach must know what is required for the team to reach these success targets and how you do it. So you'll find, for example, I talked earlier about the interviews with the different coaches. Some coaches start their preseason preparation in June or July. Others start from as early as February. And you look at the differences and the reasons. So, for example, most corporate area schools can afford to start way later than rural schools. Reason being, a significant number of the players usually play in
other competitions,
Premier League, Major League, etc.
And other youth competitions.
And youth competitions, right? In a place like Manchester, for example, you don't have that. So you necessarily have to start much earlier and try to get practice games and so on. But the planning is also include things where on the technical side, now you talk about like your microcycle, your mesocycles, and your macrocycle. Your macrocycle is basically your plan for the entire season, and then your mesocycle is where you break it down into, say, 6 to 8 week blocks, and then your microcycle is like a 1 week training program, and then you come to your training sessions. All of this requires very detailed planning, and of course, within that, you have to bear in mind that different players have different needs, so you have to account for that. So a management, for example, because him doing track and field as well, may come back to preseason with aerobic capacity well advanced. Whereas Andrew Edwards, who has not played anything since the last campaign, will need that early aerobic work to get him moving. Then Edwards maybe need more work technically on heading, whereas Manningsman technically might need more work on short passes, etc. So you need to be very clear about all of these little things inside of it. Now, a very big part of the planning for me as a coach in schoolboy football down the years, and it brings us to a later part of the discussion too, is that you have to look at your pathway to the finals. You have to be very clear. If that is your win, you have to now look at your pathway and design a plan to get there. So, in the way the Costa Cup is structured in Jamaica, there's no way to the finals except through Clarendon. It don't matter where you come from, Westmoreland or St. Thomas.
Yeah.
If you get into the Dakasta Cup final, you must play at least one Clarendon school.
Whoa.
Must.
Really?
Right. That is a fact. From I have been going to school till today. Right?
Whoa.
So
People,
there's no way unless the people you play in the final beat all of the Clarendon schools before you. But you can't get there without them, without passing through them. All right. And so in your planning, that has to be strategic in your mind. That somewhere along the journey.
Coach, I think you're spitting some facts and some truth. I don't think half the people knew that. So, hey, you people down in Western Jamaica, you always have to, as part of your planning, plan for Clarendon.
Yeah, well, you have to. There's no way you cannot listen. Clarendon, we kind of jumped the gun a little bit, all right? Yeah. But Clarendon has had the most schools as a parish who have won the Dakasta.
Yeah, that I know.
Right? Now, the way the Dakasta Cup is structured, one half of the Clarendon schools will end up on one side of the what do you call it? The pool?
The bracket,
the bracket, and the half will end up on the other side of the bracket. So, unless they are genuinely not good, which is very, very rarely the case, you must pass through Clarendon to get to the promised land.
All right.
Yeah. All right. So that is very integral. Then
so it must be a part of your planning because
it must be a part of your planning.
Yeah.
All right. And if it is a part of your plan now, that includes where you camp, who you play in your pre-seasons, that kind of thing. Also looking at what is the typical styles of the Clarendon schools. What are the strengths and weaknesses of the Clarendon schools? When Titchfield got to the finals in 2003, we had to play 4 Clarendon schools on way to the finals. Sorry, 3 en route to the finals. You understand? So there's just no way you can circumvent that. You have to play them. All right. Every year when I was at States, it's the same thing. At Manchester High School, it's the same thing. So you just don't get past them. It's just the reality. And you can take a look at it for yourself or ask other people who didn't know it. If anybody who might have doubts about what I'm saying there. So then now you look at the styles of the schools and you try to work out your things, your matchups for those. So you're planning. The approach for planning in my mind that is best is backwards. So Dakasta Cup final is November 29, right? And you work everything back to your start date, right? And then you introduce as you go along what items are going to be important at what stage. So again, like by the time I got to my 3rd year at Titchfield, and when I moved to States and Monroe and the other schools, it was the same.
Yeah.
The first part of the preliminary round, the first round of the preliminary round was counted or was calculated as a part of the preseason. All right. And I was pleasantly surprised to realize that almost all the winning schools, the winning coaches that I spoke to, have a similar methodology. So the preseason includes the preliminary round. And it makes a lot of logical sense because the typical group stage, whether Manning Cup or Dakasta Cup, have only one other team that should give you a really tough fight, so to speak. Fortunately or unfortunately, there was a time in what was the zone again? Zone L, I think, with Titchfield, when we had Port Antonio, Happy Grove. Those are the 2 Portland schools, which those are like classic derby games. All right, but then in St. Thomas now you had St. Thomas Technical and C4.
Yes.
Right, so for a while that group was extremely difficult. And in that same era, we're talking about, say, 2002 to 2004, 2005, that period thereabout. All right, the likes of, I already mentioned the Wilson Stroke Dennis, Deborah Argill from the Titchfield side, and you mentioned a few others, Marvin Fagan and so on. But on the St. Thomas side, you had people like Newton Sterling, Demar Phillips, what's that goalkeeper name again? He was at Seafort as well. You know,
a lot of those guys ended up playing for York.
Yeah, man. Most of them ended up playing for York, and then some of them moved to Harbourview and Waterhouse, because Calvert Fitzgerald was the coach at moved to Waterhouse. Yeah, then Demar Phillips played a lot of years in Europe.
Jeremy and Miller was a part of that team.
Yeah. So Jeremy Miller. Right. So somebody put in the goalkeeper's name as Dwayne Miller. Yeah. And they just had a lot of really strong players across the group. Then towards 2005, Fear Prospect became a power broker in Portland. You know, and so the point I was making is that it was a little bit more difficult because you had 4 or 5 teams now that were at a decent level. In St. Elizabeth, that zone is usually the same. With States, Monroe, Lacovia, occasionally Magati.
And sometimes Black River
when they come good. And then, of course, BB Coke has become a powerhouse down there as well. And they have always produced really, really good players. So in those zones, it's a little bit different from most of the other zones. But most of the other zones, you have 2 teams that are just way out in front of everybody else. So you can, beg your pardon. So you can literally plan your program to say, all right, the preliminary round of the season
is your preseason.
It's a part of my preseason. No, not is your preseason, but is a part of. So it would be what you call like your pre-competitive preseason. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. And then once you have your plan in place now, that now guides your preparation. All right. When do I start the preparation? Where do I want my players to be at this point, at that point, at this point? So for example, one of the coaches I spoke to, right, he had a very strong emphasis for weight training during the season, which I found very interesting. And when he explained it, it became even more obvious. So, for example, he said that every single day before the players went onto the park during the season for training, before they kicked the ball, they did 30 minutes in the gym, right? Every single day. Sometimes they bring the weights out to the field. And I was like, whoa, no wonder this team is always much more powerful than the others. All right. So again, now this comes from your human resource, because I am the head coach, but I don't know it all. But when I have a physical trainer in my corner and him said to me, say, coach, listen, in order for you to be at your competitive best in the last week of October going into November and December, these are the things that you need, and this is how we're going to maintain and build on it, so that when we get to November 29, we are at peak fitness, strength-wise, speed-wise, etc. So that's how it has to be. And the team around the team, you know, that's the human resource thing we discussed earlier.
Yes.
Yeah. And then from the start to the end, it is very important to analyze every step and get feedback. Now, one of the most critical stakeholder that I have always made it a point of duty to make sure that they have an input and to value their feedback more than almost all others is the players. All right. If you develop the kind of relationship with your players that they trust you, that they believe in what you are doing, they will tell you just about everything. All right. And in my personal case, I have been fortunate to have what you call seconds, the assistants, who were much more closer to the players and as such learned a lot much more from them. But I also learned a lot from my players, from spectators. So you know those people you call diehard spectators, them they are training and them not miss no match and these kinds of things, and them develop relationships with the players. The players say things to them sometimes unnoticed, not deliberate, but unconsciously, that when it comes back to you, it gives you information that is quite insightful. But outside of those, indirect means, right? Very, very direct is important. Whatever goals we set for a season has always included players. So I've never actually walked into a team and said, "Oh, we're going to win the Acosta Cup this year." Never. All right. I allow the players to determine that. They decide when they think it's important for us to start training. So let us say, for example, the team say, "Coach, we think we want to start training come January." And I said, "Why?" "But coach, how we are going to win if we don't start training in January?" Nothing at all is wrong with that. But then now we must now determine what training we do in January. You understand? How do we juxtapose that training in January with whether they play cricket or volleyball or basketball or track and field? Are they playing a major league team, super league? How do we put all of that together to make sure that the players, when they come to September, October, November, are still in good health and good physical fitness to perform at the best levels? And the truth is, for schoolboy football, you really don't need your team at its optimal level until week 7 of the season. The first 6 weeks of the season is a preliminary round. If you are a championship...
Unless it was an abbreviated season like last season.
Correct. Right?
Yeah.
So if you're a championship-bound team or a team with championship ambitions, you should be able to get through the preliminary round somewhere between 40 to 70%.
It sounds like Coach Edwards. It sounds like you have broken into the vault at JC and took out their manual, and you have it right in front of you, just reading it.
No. But you see, the thing is, the program at JC, and I'm going out on a limb because I really don't know, would have started with Alfred
Henry. Henry.
Yeah, Alfred Henry, right? Freddie. And because of the same culture thing we talked about earlier, they have been able to keep the key components of that program through Miguel Coley, Andrew Peart, and now Davian Ferguson. All right. So now, as coaches, we talk. Coach education is not really very different nowhere at all in the world, right? But there are differences in styles, in philosophy, in delivery. Every successful business, if you talk to them, you're going to find some similarities similar to how you think I'm in the JC vault, right?
No, just giving trouble.
I know you're just giving trouble, but the same could be said of Clarendon College, right?
Well, that is true.
The same could be said of Kingston College. So it's not really unique to one thing. What it is saying to us is that, or to me, is that, hey, hold on. What JC I do what me need to learn and try to adapt in my environment based on my environmental situation. What Clarendon College I do what me can bring to my local environment. That's kind of how I like to look at it. So that, in a nutshell, in my opinion, is the way to go if you're trying to accomplish some success. And I'll cap it off by saying that, and I said this to a couple of principals yesterday. I was watching the Headley Cup finals over Manchester High School.
That's Steps one again.
No, the game not finished yet, or unless it finished since morning.
Because of the rain, right.
Yeah.
But based on how it is going, it look like,
very, very much so. So I said to them that any school who hires a coach and expects winning in less than 3 years is doing everybody a disservice. All right, because
any school that hires a coach and expect to win in less than 3 years,
is doing everybody a disservice. No, don't get me wrong. It don't mean that you can't win in year 1 or year 2, right? But to do so, you would have to be coming in and riding on the success.
Piggybacking on somebody else's work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So if you are building to win, in an ideal way, you need 3 to 4 years to do it.
Yeah. All right. So wonderful. Now, let us segue into Clarendon. Is Clarendon how powerful is Clarendon in the landscape of schoolboy football? Is Clarendon the seat of power in schoolboy football? Would that be an accurate statement to make?
Absolutely, yes, I would have to say. In terms of Oliver Shield victories, maybe they're not quite there yet, but 100% on in terms of the Costa Cup, they are right there. And even if you go below the Costa Cup to the under 16 and the under 14, they're right there. You know, and if you expand that to include the JFF parish competitions, they are right there as well. So the analytical question therefore is, how did this become possible, or how is this possible? There are two things that I have become aware of that I think contribute to that. One is the work that was put in the late 70s, 80s, 90s, I think, by John Green. I see you have it up in front of you there.
Somebody had it up, yes.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that. Even to this day, some probably 10, 12 years after his passing, his legacy continues to be impactful on Clarendon football. You know, John Green was very big on youth development, and I had a very good fortune of glimpsing. I have to say a glimpse, you know, because it was really a glimpse. His work one Saturday morning, round Woodside. I think that's the name of the field. I was a young boy at the time, so
that's your galaxy.
Really, stuck with me. But in talking to people, though, it is clear that he was very invested in developing the youth within the parish, and he had a clear philosophy about how that should go, and that continues to be a part of the way. Now, Veer Technical High School is the first school to break the Monroe Cornwall College dominance at the Costa Cup. So, for those of us from the rural parts, just a little history lesson. The Costa Cup was started in 1950 with 4 schools competing: Cornwall College, Mannings High School, Monroe College, and Titchfield. All right, and that was the case for I think the first 5 or 6 years of the competition.
Was it called the Costa Cup?
As far as I know, yes. All right. Now, when other schools began joining the party, Colonel Ben Francis of Veer Technical at the time determined that 2 schools can't win this competition all by themselves. And he designed a plan and executed that plan to perfection. So Veer Technical is the only school to have won the Costa Cup 6 or 7 consecutive times in the 70s. All right?
Yes.
60s going into 70s, beg your pardon. So since Veer Technical, then we had the Winston Chongfa effect at Clarendon College. And that legacy continues to this day. If you talk to Lenny Hyde.
Well, Rossies was in there at some point too, you know.
No. We're coming to Rossies. Behave yourself, man. Take your time. We are do the chronology. Yeah. So it was Veer Technical to break the Monroe Cornwall stranglehold on the competition. Then Clarendon College. And then after Clarendon College came Rossies. Well, Rossies, because Cornwall was there before. So Rossies came into the mix, and then Herbert Morrison and so on and so on. Now, the decade of 2000 to 2010 is a period when we had the most new winners ever in the Costa Cup competition. So that decade, From Technical won their first title, Godfrey Stewart, Glenn Muir, Garvey Massio. Yeah, that's about it. All right, so 4 new schools won for the very first time between 2000 and 2010.
St. James,
right? Thank you. So it's 5.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. But so now we're talking about Clarendon. Veer Technical was very deliberate
Did Stets win? Or they were the one before?
It's won in 74 for the first time.
Okay, but the one in that same period again.
Yes. No man,
As well.
74 first, then 89. Yeah. 74, 89, 99, and then subsequently after that.
Okay.
Right. So Ben Francis at Veer Technical was first to execute a deliberate plan to overthrow the duopoly.
Monroe Cornwall.
Duopoly. All right. This was done largely through the influx of players from Kingston. All right. A lot of people, especially from the Boys Town area, I am told, came over to be a part of that Veer Technical program.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Winston Chongfa, when he moved to Clarendon College, I don't have that story down to a part, but then you realize also that there was a heavy influx of Kingston players, the Lenny Hydes and others,
yes,
into that. And even to this day, very few Clarendon boys actually play for Clarendon College.
That's what people are saying to me, that Clarendon College always have minimum 6 persons who are not from Clarendon.
Yeah, that is true. A lot of the players come from like Spanish Town, Portmore, Kingston.
Okay.
And in a way, it's very easy nowadays in terms of transportation. And of course, they have dorm facilities and stuff like that up there as well. But the other schools now, your Garvey Massio and your Glenmuir and your Lennons and so on, they are what you would call bona fide Clarendon schools in terms of the players themselves. All right.
Okay.
So they have had a long history of developing youth players. Going back, I would say from the Veer Technical program through to the Clarendon College program, and then the coming of John Green and building out the youth development process in the parish. But then another Green, Freddie Green, who was competitions director at ISA back in the 80s and before that, and Mr. Clement Radcliffe, I think, who was the president at the time.
Yes.
They were the ones who basically set the Dacosta Cup the way it is now, in terms of the zoning and the fixture that causes all schools to have to pass through Clarendon to win. So there was a time, for example, when Veer Technical and Clarendon College was always in the same group. All right. And so one would come out and one would not come out and so on. So now Clarendon has, I think, 3 or 4 zones in there, and
right.
And then 2, just by the letter notation on them, so will always end up on one side of the bracket, and 2 zones will always end up on one side of the bracket.
Whoa, that's interesting.
So at all times you have 8 Clarendon schools going into the interzone round of the competition. No other parish boasts that.
Really? 8?
No other parish boasts that.
Whoa.
Right? So 8 Clarendon schools in the interzone round, and typically when they are very good, right, they will have 4 of those moving into the quarterfinal stages.
Yeah.
And then the rest is history.
Whoa.
So in a nutshell, that is it for you.
Hey, listen, some interesting stuff. Let me just get a couple of comments and then we just jump into something else. Is Mr. Edwards part of the Chapperton Maroon FC coaching staff?
No, I don't even know about the Chapperton Maroons. I just hearing about them.
Okay.
For the first time.
Yeah, because
is that the team that is playing in the tier 2?
Yeah, they're in the tier 2 that's the Clarendon representative from the tier 2. If he's going to be a part of any team, I suspect it would be down from Manchester, or Treasure Beach from St. Elizabeth, or Portlanders from Portland. So I don't know. And then Triple E says, for Mr. Edwards Rahman from Portland, you really know your facts.
Well, I mean, we thank you for the comment. But the truth is that these are not, and in these times especially, it's not difficult for anybody to know these things, you know.
Yeah, and then bless up El Padrino, probably early morning where he's at now. He says yes, man is man. And your guest, special guest, Mr. Edwards, big up. It's always good to hear about the grassroots football in Jamaica. We need to get it sorted out for the future. And then Christopher Wright says at least 4 players from Rima every year. I think he's speaking about
Clarendon College.
Clarendon College. And then do you think we should encourage similar style of play at the high school level? I think he's suggesting that have all the high schools playing the same way.
All right, so if all right, yes, I think that's the key point. But personally speaking, I do agree to some extent that we need to have some commonality about how we go about developing players. However, as it is now, that is not the case where we are anywhere near that, and that is largely because we don't have an overarching national football philosophy as at this moment that everybody buys into and is willing to support to the end. All right. So that is something that hopefully may come on stream. The other thing though, you have to bear in mind, and Issa likes to remind us of this when it is convenient to do so, that Issa's remit is not the development of sports, but rather
it's fun and recreation. I keep telling Issa's
exactly.
mandate for
So
sport in
this
school.
this
Let me say it, coach. Issa's mandate people for sport in school, and they keep emphasizing this, is fun and recreation, not
extension of PE.
It's right in Issa's head. What schoolboy football is an extension of their PE session. All right. If people want to, some schools want to take it and pump a lot in it in terms of Issa's mandate. This is our PE session. We just put in our PE session in with kids in jerseys, putting it on TV, but it's actually PE you're watching. That's Issa's mandate.
Simple.
Yeah.
So I see another question here, which I think we already kind of answered as well. We're not really discussing high school player development, Everton.
Yeah.
You know, we were just basically looking at what it takes to make success in a high school football program. But for the specific question you're asking, again, I think we have already answered that. We need to have some buy-in, and that will take some time and some doing to get us there.
Okay. All right. This one from Gunners Ball says you need to add regular film session where coaches and player break down the next opponent game. I think that is in the analysis and feedback.
Yeah, man, and it also comes in planning and preparation.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, Gunners Ball. You're just kind of going into the details, but we were really and truly just dealing with the skeleton.
Yeah, skeleton, right. All right. So and if I go back to Everton Jackson's question, very important question, but I think this is where the academies come in, and I'm going to, because there is a Genesis tournament coming up, we're going to get into that because that is an academy-based system structure program. All right, and here's why I'm suggesting this. One of the things that I've also realized is this: the schools in Clarendon, whether it's Clarendon, Westmoreland, or Kingston and St. Andrew, your KC, your JC, your Wolmers, your Georges, your Mannings, all of those schools. Generally, the schools that have players playing in clubs outside of the school, those schools tend to win the schoolboy football competition. So, for example, if you check the KC team, you will see that they have a lot of their players who came through Santos or through Cavaliers. There you go. The teams, like a lot of the teams that do well, have the players playing football outside of the school football program. And so I realize that where the kids are only playing school football, the schools don't really do well.
Stick up in right there, some Mannings, man. Stick up in right there, some. maybe about 2010, 11. Sir Wellington and myself, Sir Wellington is the principal at States.
States, yeah.
We're having a discussion and we were comparing the difference in technical levels of Doncaster Cup players, specifically States versus Manning Cup players. All right. And instantly I was able to contribute, and Mr. Wellington pointed it out himself as well, and we were in concert, that a 17-year-old boy playing Manning Cup in Kingston typically probably would have played anywhere in the region of about 200, 300 games already, compared to a rural area boy who at 17-year-old would be barely get into 50 games, competitive games. So just in terms of competitive gameplay alone, the corporate area boys and girls are well ahead of their rural area counterparts.
Yes. And that is because, what is the reason that leads to that?
Is the competitions, the new, all right, just look, tomorrow we talk about the competition that is being launched at the Captain Horace Burrell Center. We spoke about it earlier. They're going to be playing under 13, under 15, under 17. All right. Now just imagine that these same players starting out at under 13 now will be in this program for another 5 years. And they're playing for 10 weeks. So assuming that they're playing for 10 weeks, that's one game every week. That's 10 games alone. Now, if you multiply that, and the intention of Value, who is the partner with Casafa, is for these competitions to be played for 6 months minimum. So just imagine these youngsters playing 6 months of developmental football outside of schoolboy football. When they come back into the school system, how far they are going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Very, I think it's a very important point. Neo Sovereign has this question because we have around 13 minutes to go, so we're trying to take some comments, and then I want you to wrap up by giving us about the Genesis tournament that is coming up. He says, should ISA be part of the JFF? If not, shouldn't the JFF exercise more control over the football competitions, since it's empowered by FIFA to control the nation's football?
All right, so ISA is a part of JFF. ISA is an affiliate of JFF, and the JFF and ISA are partners. However, the JFF's mandate is not a bully mechanism, right, or autocratic mechanism. It is more of a democratic, cooperative type mechanism. ISA's mandate, as we have already outlined, Neo, is extension of PE, recreation, right? Academic development. JFF's mandate is different. And while they do have some interface at which they have to come together, they are not one and the same. All right. So yes, you'll have kids coming across from the ISA competitions, but their mandate is not to develop players, and we have to accept and respect that. What it should cause us to do, though, is to demand more of our clubs and academies to invest in player development.
Tan says high school is really where the intermediate product is changed from the raw material from the primary school. A structure has to be put in place to develop kids. In the US, there is the AAA traveling league. Yeah. And then Dre Anyweather says true Harborview had 6 players from the Manning Cup final, just for your information. Manning that Mr. Edwards. Is that true? And then Nia says it was unclear to me whether ISA was a part of the JFF. Thanks for clearing it up for me. Yeah, but you can't be, let me say this, you can't operate any football in Jamaica without being an affiliate, because it's not recognized. Right. That's how it works, coach. If you for your football to be recognized by FIFA, you must be an affiliate of the JFF.
Right.
In terms of the level of control that the JFF has is probably limited. For example, certain corner leagues have to be registered with the parish association because some of the players who probably play in them are in the Premier League.
Absolutely.
And if they want to impose disciplinary action on the player for something that happens in the corner league and it's not an affiliate, it can't happen. You understand? So for those reasons, even corner leagues now cannot be played, and any sort of referees, for example, are not supposed to do the corner leagues if they are not connected to the parish association, which makes them an affiliate of the JFF, which makes them an affiliate of FIFA, in essence.
Absolutely. Correct.
Yeah. All right, so tell us about what's happening at down there at your Genesis Academy, the Genesis tournament.
Yeah, so next week, Saturday, April 30, things will be booming at Manchester High School. We have our inaugural Genesis spring tournament. We're doing it in 3 age groups this time around, under 8s, under 11s, and under 14s. And all age groups are allowed to have co-ed teams participating. And we, in fact, have been encouraging the teams to play at least one female on their teams for each game. The response to that has not been as exciting as I would have liked, but suffice to say that Reina's Academy has indicated their interest to play in the under 14. And for those who don't know, Reina's Academy is the only all-female academy in Jamaica right now, run by Neo Oxford.
Neo Oxford, yes.
Correct.
They're connected to Meadowbrook High School as well.
Correct.
Yes.
All right. So we have 8 teams in each age category. Are we catering for 8 teams? So far, we have some 19 teams confirming participation. Only 4 in the under 8 category. 7 in the U11, and we have fill out the 8 for the U14s. That's going to be interesting because we have quite a few school teams, including Cornwall College, Stats, Manchester High School, playing in that. And of course, Mount Pleasant Academy is also going to be there in the under 14 category. So we are very excited that we are able to again put on this kind of thing in rural Jamaica. It's a real challenge, quite frankly, on many levels.
Let me interrupt you to say, Coach Edwards, I think you need to travel to the east.
Yes, a saddle to the east. That check bound to see him have no spear saddle.
So you can float a couple of teams from out of eastern Jamaica. I mean, too often they get left out.
Yeah, but I think there are a number of things to it, Portland is very difficult to reach, quite frankly. I remember when I was at Teachfield and had to travel for workshops, whether it be as a teacher or as a coach, and meetings and so on. Regardless of where the meetings were kept, I would almost always be the last person getting back home, because even a man in Westmoreland find it much easier to drive go down to Westmoreland than to drive go down to Portland.
Yeah. El Futura come to coach.
Yeah, man.
That's
Future is coming.
That's odd scene. And they're up in Lawrence Tavern, Temple, Golden Spring, up somewhere up that side, Stony Hill. Yeah,
well, if you have under 8 or under 11, there is still a spot so you can reach out and we can work it out. But I was saying, we're at Genesis, we're really, really proud of these kinds of initiatives because it takes a lot of work, really, and it's very difficult, and we have to use this opportunity to salute some of those people who have been supporting us and making it possible. So we have like a We Care Pediatrics, which is located right here in Mandeville. Yardi Sports for sure. We have Pure National Ice who supports us. Design Masters. These are people on board already. I can't remember we have a dermatologist business that supports us as well. Western Sports has been very good to us in terms of offering us some discounts and stuff. We appreciate those small gestures. you know, and to the people who support the work at Genesis from
Delta Sports.
from the
Who's
board
Delta
level.
Sports?
Delta Sports, so thank you. They are not totally committed as yet, but we expect that commitment today or Monday the latest. So that's why I didn't really mention it. But they have indicated a very strong interest, and interest that would be very, very powerful when it manifests. So we want to also the board members with Genesis. They have been doing some incredible work, and you know we can't say thanks enough to them because they are doing this strictly as volunteers, giving up them time. Just Sunday we had a strategic development retreat, and at the end of the day, Monday morning I was still beaming with a smile because you know just to see the vision and the future that we are planning for Genesis, it's exciting. And I'll say on this platform without giving too much away, next year things are going bigger and better, you know.
Yeah.
So for those of us who are able to come out and see what's happening, please do so on Saturday the 30th of April at Manchester High School. Game starts out at 9 o'clock for the under 14s and at 10 for the U8s and U11s. And we're gonna have football being played all the way up to 6 o'clock in the evening. All the teams participating will play 5 games.
Good.
Right.
This is a first thing I don't know if you want, because what we could do is, if you want, you could if you want, if somebody filmed the game, we could put it up on the channel for people to watch probably the final, the semi-final. I don't know if you are, because it's kids. I don't know.
No, we can do it, you know, because everybody participating has to sign a waiver, and the waiver includes those things in terms of use of images and photos.
Right. So if you want, you know, I am sure sports, we can always, we can put.
Well, we give thanks for that opportunity on the platform. We don't have the mechanism in place at this point, but you rest assured that if we are
all we need is we can do it the simple way to do it is we do the same thing. We send the link.
Yeah.
We set up a phone, good quality, and a tripod, and you video it, and it comes on, and I just bring it on, and people can watch it.
We'll talk more about it. We'll talk more about it.
Even if you want to do the final, just to highlight it or portions of it.
We're gonna do it, man. We're gonna do it.
We can do that.
We're gonna do it, and we appreciate that. We appreciate the support.
Yeah, man. Because everything that we can do to support it, we are more than willing to do that.
Yeah, man. You know, and we're making a very strong push to increase our numbers in the women's game, because we believe that is the biggest growth prospects for football right now.
Because it's next week Saturday.
Yes.
Okay.
30th of April.
Okay. All right. Great.
Yeah, man. So again, we give thanks for the opportunity. We really appreciate yourself and all of the people on the call, the messages, the questions, the comments.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Really great conversation this morning. So we don't meet next week, except we probably come on and talk a little bit about the preparation for the tournament.
Yeah,
and the Friday and then the following week is when we have our next show. But I want to thank you again for coming on. Very insightful discussion this morning. And so it's not too late to sign up for the Genesis tournament. Remember, you can contact Coach Edwards. He's on all the social media platforms. You can see him on Facebook. You can also contact me. You can contact I Am Sure Sports, and we will put you in contact with Coach Edwards. Thank you so much, Coach, for coming on. Always appreciate our conversation.
Sorry, the comment did not at the bottom. From Triple E. I don't know if Triple E, but you know, we never say no to nothing at all, you know. We never say no to nothing at all. You know, but quite frankly, that's not on the ambitions line right now, but anything is possible.
Yeah, man. So blessings, Coach. Enjoy the rest of the day, enjoy the weekend, and we'll be in touch. All right?
Yeah, man, give thanks.
Yeah, man. All right, so there you have it, people. This is the football show. We do it every other Friday with Coach Andrew Edwards. Hope you enjoy the discussion. Please remember to hit the like button. Also remember to subscribe to the platform if you have not done so yet. We have our basketball around the NBA coming up with Pioneer and the gang shortly. And then later today, we have our JPL show. And so we have a couple of shows today. So we have our JPL show with a couple of coaches from the JPL, talking to a couple of players as well. And as usual, we'll have Coach Rudolph Speed on the show with us. So stay tuned for that. Our NBA show comes up at 12 today. And then we have a very interesting interview with someone later today. Not an artist, but he has the name of an artist. He's a footballer. We'll be talking to him. I am Management. This has been I Am Sure Sports. It's indeed my great pleasure to have you coming on. Remember, you support the platform by liking, subscribing, and sharing our content. Let someone else know what we are doing here. You be safe, right? And take care of yourself every day and every time.
You know what about dog? SK New Erdis, the body out there, Sniper King I represent for I Am Sure Sports. You get to me, I say, when you want the latest news and sports and updates and all of that, check out I Am Sure Sports. You know the thing goes in. Remember, cover the whole island. Remember Kingston, Westmoreland, Galchester, Ocho-Race, Galtigo Bay, everywhere. I Am Sure Sports. Check it out for the latest news and latest updates. Sniper King I represent. Where them feel like? Ha, yeah. Someone on for the food from young, from where they knee height. I Am Sure Sports. Yeah, dog.